What if we were to make GTA, but anime, horror, with an entire city that actually feels alive? No more empty fantasy worlds or lifeless sci-fi wastelands. This is Neverness to Everness, the most immersive open-world gacha game of 2026. And after 100+ hours of playing, it might just be the first one where I forgot I was even playing a gacha game. Today, I am going to be breaking down everything. The insane Unreal Engine 5 graphics, the addictive life sim loop, the gacha that actually respects your time, and the one mascot that everyone wants to mute. Neverness to Everness, also referred to as NTE, is a supernatural urban open-world action RPG gacha game developed by Hada Studio, the very same team behind Tower of Fantasy. It launched globally on April 29, 2026, just a few days ago as of this review going live, after a China release on April 23rd. Yes, it did release in China first, but for once that was actually a good thing. China encountered all of the bugs, had all of the issues, and then Global reaped the rewards from that, because Global didn't have any of them. China did get compensation for the bugs, and then so did Global. So I genuinely appreciate the fact that we weren't treated as second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh class citizens. Rip Black Beacon. NTE is currently available on PC, mobile, PS5, and Mac with full crossplay functionality, blending an anime aesthetic with a hyper-detailed, lived-in modern Japanese-inspired city called Hetero. It is ambitious and charming in ways that stand out from its competition, but it has some rough edges typical of a new launch. Here is my full breakdown after having played every beta test at Gamescom, at Tokyo Game Show. Yes, I really have played it all. You play as the stereotypical amnesiac protagonist who wakes up in Hetero and gets roped into the Bureau of Anomaly Control. Your job as an appraiser is to investigate supernatural anomalies, everything from minor disturbances to city-threatening events like the massive hypervortex tear in the sky. These anomalies disrupt normal urban life, and you team up with a rotating cast of colorful Esper-powered companions to contain them. The narrative is mostly episodic. Each chapter feels like a self-contained case or a mystery with puzzles, investigations, character interactions tied together by an overarching lore about anomalies, about Espers, and the city's secrets. Tone-wise, it's a fun mix of quirky comedy, light-hearted slice-of-life moments, and surprisingly engaging horror that I really believe that should more deeply explore. I played through almost an hour worth of what is arguably some of the most terrifying horror elements in a gacha game I've ever seen, in two different instances. One where I was in a school, one where I was in a hospital running away from a mummy who had been burned alive and was trying to murder me. The game starts with strong momentum and mystery, but can feel a little bit more formulaic as time goes on, with some of my content creator friends and various different players across social media noting that it doesn't go as deep as heavier story gachas do, but it is also a 1.0 launch, and they're notorious for being pretty standard in terms of narrative depth and complexity. Pacing gets interrupted by level locking on the main quest, which forces side content grinding to progress. This is a pretty significant slowdown if you're just trying to tunnel vision the main story, but is also where some of the charm of social activities comes into play. The main complaint people have here with the story specifically is Taygedo, NTE's version of Paimon or Abby. He has quickly become one of the game's most divisive and complained about elements in-game right now. His speech pattern is the #1 complaint. He repeats his own name constantly in this shrill, high-pitched, yappy way that just feels like Pokemon on steroids. He hijacks a surprisingly large number of the main story and also early side content. His date quest in particular is so absurdly cringe, absolutely and entirely irrelevant, and largely skipped over by the majority of players. Some people have straight up spammed skip and avoid anything involving him. In terms of gameplay, NTE is a third-person open-world urban sandbox game with heavy life sim and exploration elements. The core loop revolves around the massive photogenic city of Hetero. You drive customizable cars, motorcycles, you do numerous activities involving cruising, street racing, deliveries, use public transit such as buses and trains, or you just explore the enormous city on foot. Random encounters pop up, you fight gang members, you fight anomalies, and you hunt them for rewards. Combat is real-time action. You switch between a 4-person party with up to 6 elements in an Esper cycle for synergies and reactions. You build gauges for ultimate abilities. You dodge, you parry, you counter enemy abilities, and break boss meters. It's flashy, it's fluid, and it's very smooth with Unreal Engine 5 animations, but many characters share a similar depth mechanically. Side content here is the real star though. You can decorate your house, you can invite characters as roommates for interactions, including dating to women, with male options lacking the same optional depth as females. This actually led to mass hate campaigns all over social media for the game. You can also manage a cafe or a tycoon property for passive income. You can fish, you can watch movies, you can gamble at casinos, you can do jobs, or you can just vibe at the top of a Ferris wheel. There's dual stamina, one for combat and exploration, one for city activities, which keeps things balanced and provides you a lot more in terms of content to consume. Hetero is genuinely breathtaking in motion, from its skyscrapers to its bustling streets to the public transit, reflective surfaces on cars and water, dynamic weather, day-night cycles, and random anomalies lighting up the skyline. The characters are both expressive and charming. You'll quickly realize, even in spite of Taygedo pretty much ruining every scene is in, that the cutscenes feel fluid and quirky with rapid dialogue switches, plenty of close-ups. Combat animations are also smooth and flashy with elemental effects. The gacha is easily one of the most generous and player-friendly in the genre right now. It uses a unique dice and board game mechanic where you roll, you move your piece, you land on reward tiles. There is absolutely no 50-50 unlimited banners. Pity guarantees a featured S-class character, with the soft pity being 70, hard pity being 90. The launch is loaded with free polls. Over 400 have been reported for actively just playing the game. Free characters, including selectors thanks to the compensation from China, and resources from activities. Cosmetics are mostly premium, but some are also earnable in-game. I'm down for paid cosmetics. It allows for you to support the game that you love. Free to play is excellent. You can enjoy the full experience of story, exploration, even team building without spending. It's low pressure, it respects your time, and progression feels fair. Long-term viability depends on future patches, however, such as the pull income versus the release frequency, the cadence of new characters, but 1.0 so far is a standout. Neverness to Everness is the ultimate vibes gacha game. Many players, including the people on social media, seem to agree that it is the first time that they forgot that they were playing a gacha game, because the city life, the roleplay, the chill activities are all just so addictive. The urban fantasy setting is a breath of fresh air after years of fantasy sci-fi overload. Generous systems mean less frustration for players, and the freedom to just drive, explore, and interact makes it feel like a full game rather than just a checklist of things to do. High production values, a charming cast of characters, and that anime GTA fantasy executed surprisingly well create massive hype and word of mouth. It's cozy, yet exciting. It's perfect for casual sessions or deep immersion. And if you know me, you know that I'm pretty much the biggest, filthiest casual in the genre. Now let's go ahead here and break down my rating. It has an extremely generous and free-to-play friendly gacha system. It is very immersive. It has a beautifully lively urban sandbox city. It is deep. It has addictive life sim elements and a lot of side activities. It's stylish and has a very high production presentation. It has a fresh urban fantasy supernatural setting and vibes, which helps set it apart from its competition. It has fun, flashy combat. It has great character models. The story pacing is a little bit rough, especially when you hit chapter 2 with Taygedo and you realize Taygedo is such an important focal part of multiple parts of the story. It also has level gating issues. The combat does lack some depth and variety, especially when you compare it to games like Wuthering Waves or Zenless Zone Zero. The performance and optimization started off well on PC, not great on mobile, but they have done things to attempt to remedy the performance issues. Taygedo is one of the most annoying characters to have ever existed. That's just how I feel. It's how everyone seems to feel. The lack of equally fleshed out male interactions. This is only gonna deter some people. The vast majority of us, myself included, aren't gonna do anything with the male characters anyway. They're not gonna date the male characters, so it isn't really of consequence to us. But for some people, it will be. And thus, for some people, it's definitely gonna be a negative. Overall, NTE is less about meta grinding endgame raids and more about just chilling around a large city doing whatever you feel like doing today. Driving, doing deliveries, racing, relaxing in your home. It's not something you need to spend hours in daily, which makes it a perfect casual gacha game, a fantastic side game to add to your regular rotation. I've been thoroughly enjoying myself and I plan on streaming this every month when new characters drop and new story is released. Do I think it's the greatest gacha game to have ever been developed? No, far from it. This is a 1.0 version after all. That is impossible, but I do think it's very fun. I do think it's very engaging, and I do think it is an enjoyable game that is only going to continue to get better over time. And I hope you feel the same. It has already earned over $14.5 million in a single day globally, and I see no signs of it slowing down. I know you think that you just hit the end of the video, and technically, yeah, you have. And I know your first reaction is to close out of it at this juncture, but don't. No, instead, I urge you to take a moment here and click one of the videos on screen that are coming up in just a moment so you remain up to date with everything going on in the gacha genre. Trust me, you're not going to regret doing so. Stay flaccid.